There are few things that are as iconic to horror stories as haunted shorelines. Gloomy, fog-swept cliffsides, lonely lighthouses clanging their bells at night, and weeping widows wandering the coasts, waiting for sailors who will never come home, are all part of the dark mystique of these dread places. There is one particular story from Nova Scotia that is perhaps the most chilling and tragic of tales, the story of Peggy's Cove Lighthouse. According to the legends, a woman named Margaret lived in the region in the early 1800s. She'd survived a shipwreck that killed her children and had taken to wandering the rocks around the edge of the sea. Her husband, who would accompany her, one day tried to cheer her up by dancing on the rocks. Unfortunately, he slipped on the wet stones and died of a shattered skull. Overcome with grief, Margaret later leapt from the cliffs where her husband had died. They say that on lonely nights and foggy days, you can see Margaret's spirit walking along the same coastline. She is dressed in blue, wailing in grief, and looks poised to jump into the sea. She will disappear if someone tries to help her, but will return the next night to walk the chill stones once more, forever separated from the family that the ocean had claimed. The story of Hub Clark is the story of the often horrifying price of industrial progress. Hub was a railway brakeman who set out to inspect the rails at the Granville Street Rail Yard in downtown Vancouver, British Columbia. Brakemen at the time wore black and white striped overalls and carried a lantern to light their way. As he continued the inspection, he slipped on the wet stone and was knocked unconscious after hitting his head on the track. He didn't awaken in time to escape the oncoming passenger train and was decapitated instantly. After Hub's death, other brakemen reported the strange swaying of a lantern light in the distance along the Granville Street trail tracks. A strange, unsettling chill would come over the people who'd seen this ghost light, but a few brave souls would stand their ground. They would later say they saw Hub walking along the tracks, his head missing and blood covering his striped overalls. Perhaps he's looking for his missing head, or perhaps he is warning others to stay away from the track, lest they share his gruesome fate. Many ghost stories have roots in horrific crimes, and one of the most famous Canadian ghost stories starts with a murder from the 1700s. A woman named Marie-Josephte had been widowed under mysterious circumstances when she fell in love with a farmer named Louis Etienne Dodier. It was not a happy marriage, and Dodier was said to mistreat his young wife. One morning in 1763, Dodier's body was found in his barn with his head split open. It was originally believed that he had been kicked to death by his horse, but suspicion soon fell on his wife. She was tried and confessed to murdering her husband with 2 blows to the head with an axe. Corriveau was tortured and executed, with her body placed in an iron gibbet and hung at a busy crossroad as a warning to travelers about the cost of murder. After her death, rumors that she killed her husband began to circulate. People also reported seeing her rotting body still hanging in the gibbet despite having already been buried by authorities. Strange lights, the sound of rattling chains, and a foreboding sense of dread haunted the crossroads where she was hung, and it is said that her evil still lingers, tempting the unwary.